Good afternoon. It is November 13th, 2024, and today we really just had a range day. Um, I think this gives the clearest picture of what happened. Basically, this is the overnight highs and lows here. And we bounced at the midline. It was very clear once you see that the closing price from yesterday is basically a midline for your price action. You can feel pretty confident. It's not like it's always going to stay within this range, but you can feel fairly confident that uh, that's going to influence prices in some way. And today it was the midline. It's going to end up a range day probably. We only have 24 minutes left. Um, so yeah, we had this test of the lows, formed a spike and channel up, and then we had this break, bear channel. And now, maybe perhaps we're attempting to test the highs. It looks like my data froze. So my internet, you know what? I think, yeah, my internet went out. So I probably just, the data is not updated. So I apologize about that. Let me get this off. Anyway, let's take a look at the 1300 tick chart and see if there's any good opportunities. I don't think you want to uh, take any trades in here before this news item. Just looks kind of like sideways stuff. And then you get this range in here. I don't think there's anything in there that stands out. You kind of get like a second entry long, lower high. So at this point, it does look like a range. And so maybe you take this lower high, but I would say that's moderately aggressive right there. Boom, we hit the low and we bounce right away. So I don't think you want to go long there. There's not really much. I mean, maybe on that second bar, but that's aggressive. And it forms this spike and channel. I had it drawn like this earlier, but it's it's safe to guess that it's more like this. Doesn't really look that well on the low side. So I had it drawn like this. This is like a 50% correction. Maybe you want to jump in there. Make a double top right here. Boom, it bounces. And you could jump in here on a failed second entry short. First entry, failed second entry. I like that. And we hit resistance again before it breaks through, bounces. And I was considering this one, but I was just too nervous that it would sell off to the lows. But if you're looking at this like a range, look, that's like a double test. And that's a pretty good entry. And then we get some sideways stuff, and then you get an overshoot, and that leads to a sell off, and then we bounce. And that's a failed second entry short. I think you could consider it. I mean, our long-term target was the high of this range, so it's reasonable. And then we get up here, and you got to be careful going long. So, are there any shorts? Let's see. So, if you drag this up, I think it's reasonable to start going short over here. You could consider this one. And that kind of looks like it's confirmation of a trend line. It's a little bit away, but turns out to be the trend line. It's off the EMA. It's two-legged pullback. Technically a first entry, but it's two-legged pullback. I think that's all I got on my chart. So, hope everyone had a good day. I'll be back tomorrow.